Now we're recording for real.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm just getting a kick out of my perception of David's perceptions of us. I don't know what to expect.
Okay. To explain David real quick. Okay, so I don't know this guy's name, and
I got a fluff. Go ahead.
how I communicate with, doesn't matter if it's spirit or extraterrestrials, the way I communicate is through energy. And energy doesn't lie, and there's some positives and some negatives to that. Positives is that you can't hide anything from me. Energy doesn't lie. So, like, spirit could tell you something, but they're not telling you the whole story sometimes, because sometimes it's for your benefit. But me, it doesn't matter if you don't tell me the words. I can feel them. So that's some positives. Some negatives is that I can't hear word for word what someone is saying, so it's more of like a summarized, like a translation.
Yeah.
And not always do I get it exactly right, because sometimes some translations aren't exactly the same. It's hard to translate energy because English is so limiting. Anyway, this guy, he's from like the Sarsahr, for in English terms, they call it the Alliance. Some people call it the Galactic Council. Some call it Ashtar Command. My theory is that, I mean, these could all be different types of councils, and there are different kinds, but I think a lot of people who channel different names for these different councils, they're not really different councils. I think they're all the same thing, and everyone's just channeling different names for the same thing.
Right, I agree with that, and I'm gonna pop in there just for like reference's sake. Like, say you're channeling Archangel Michael, we call him Archangel Michael, but to some other species on a different planet, they can still channel that same energy, but because they don't have like our biblical history or whatever, it might not be Archangel Michael to them. It could be something completely different,
like the blob of
Heather's blob. Yes. The galactic blob.
Yeah, so he sent me his name and energy. And I'm not good at hearing names, and anyone who channels knows the struggle with names. Unless you're just, really good at it, then, I envy you. But I'm not. I suck at names. And so I'm like, okay, I'll just make up a name for you. David. The fucking weirdest, whitest name. Not weirdest, but, I mean, in terms for naming an extraterrestrial, David.
Right! Right! Hey, Dave.
Hey, Dave. What's up, Dave? And he doesn't care. It's whatever makes us comfortable. And so in humans, I don't need a name, but the people watching this may want a name. So there you go, David.
All right.
Before we get started, a bit off topic, but I got new glasses, by the way, guys. And I already showed Carrie earlier. But these are the new ones. If you guys saw any of the older videos, I have like a square-shaped ones. And then I got this other pair because I'm using up my parents' health insurance before I turn 26.
Use it up, girl.
And then there's this pair. I like these ones too. They make me feel like a librarian or something.
The sexy librarian.
Hardly doubt that. Anyway, but I'm using up. My mom totally burned me the other day. She because I was saying how I'm going to stock up on contacts and glasses before I turn 26 because I'm not going to have my life together in time to
Clearly.
I'm not going to have my life together in time to have vision care. And so my mom commented, so true. Mom!
Mama knows.
I guess. I'm like, yeah, that's true, but you're not supposed to say it.
I know! You can do anything you want, baby girl. There, I said it for her. Yeah. But I'm kind of with her. You're not going to have it together yet. I don't have vision care either. I got to pay full price for that shit. It's not too bad, just in case.
I paid $20 for these 2 pairs of glasses.
Wow, that's really good. Yes. I don't know what I pay. I just pay eyeballs, and I wear them way too long. So I probably get half price. And ruin my eyes in the process, but whatever.
For me, a whole new set of contacts for a whole year is $30 with the insurance.
Mine's like $75 for 6 months. It's okay.
I guess I'll be blind.
Guess so.
Oh, well, what are you going to do?
Okay, sorry, David.
Sorry, David. We're talking about human things. Besides, it's fine. He's so patient.
Aww.
Anyway, so we'll go over what he wants to talk about first, because we put him on hold for way too long.
Okay.
And we didn't really set this up. It just kind of happened last minute, this conversation we're going to have with him. But he is from, we'll just call it an alliance. That's going to be our term for it. An alliance is, what species are you? He is Pleiadian. So,
Oh, hi.
I said we wouldn't interview Pleiadians because you guys are already so popular. He's joking. He's like, I'm sorry about that.
Damn it. You messed it all up.
You fucked us up, David. He says, forgive me. But anyway, he's talking about how, he's not talking about, I'm going to, for him, summarize what it is they do. For people that don't know, because I do know there's a lot of people in Stardust who are just from channeling Eric, and they don't know much about extraterrestrials or anything like this. And I don't know much either. This is what I do know. There's this whole alliance with a bunch of benevolent extraterrestrials who are pretty much all have the same mission in mind. And it's not just about humans. It's about all of them, including humans and any other species within this galaxy. And they're also wanting to spread to other galaxies. And it's kind of like a good neighborhood club where you just are all on the same page about peace and helping beings who are not at the same evolutionary level as your species is. And not all the species in this alliance are at the same level. Like the Pleiadians are in some higher evolutionary level than, say, the Sarsahr. The Sarsahr aren't quite at the Pleiadian level in evolution. Or even advanced technology-wise. Like, the Pleiadians have way more advanced technology than the Sarsahr do. But part of this alliance is to help with species like humans who are just still stuck on Earth for the most part. I mean, we're starting to spread out, but there's even more species who are less evolved than humans are. And their job is to help protect them. And when the time comes for them to make the decision to be part of the alliance, then it, they'll be there. But if they don't have to, if they don't want to. And it's not like they're going to go to war with you if you say no. It's just part of, do you want to be part of our club or not? This is our mission. This is what we believe in. And if you agree, you join, It's really something like that. That's in simple terms. That's how you would put it. And so many people gear these alliances around humans because humans like to make it all about themselves. But, and they think that they're here solely for us. I guess they're here to help us, but their whole existence doesn't revolve around humans and helping us. It's they're doing this for everybody, including themselves. So it's not like and I also noticed something else, and he agrees with me on what I just said, but there's also the whole thing where people think this is such a dramatic shift for humankind at this time, or such a huge evolutionary turn, and it's like, okay, that's because you're alive in this time now, and you think it's such a huge deal, and I get it is, but imagine how people felt during the Enlightenment. That was a huge shift in human history too, in our evolution.
Yeah,
and people
that makes sense.
Yeah, and so many people felt that time the same way we do now about what we do, but that doesn't mean that so many people paint it like this is the final step, and we're going to be at this level, and it's like, no, we're not ever done growing. And in history, this is probably going to be named a certain part of our history, like the Enlightenment, or the Industrial Revolution, or the Renaissance, whatever.
Spiritual revolution.
Yeah, the spiritual revolution, I guess. But there are so many different spiritual revolutions for our kind. Anyway, so that's what I want to point out, is that it is a big deal because we're alive in this now. But in the grand scheme of things, it's just another...
to put that into your own life history, and I'm talking like ups and downs of good and bad. I mean, we are so up and down. This is such a huge, significant moment in my life.
Yeah.
But I had, when I had a baby, it was huge. But, I had lots of other significant moments. It was not the moment of my life.
Yeah.
So I think that's a smaller version of what you're saying.
Yeah, definitely. So he wants to talk about, he just wanted to come in to say hi, mostly to introduce himself to us, because Stardust, among many other groups, dedicated to spreading awareness about extraterrestrials, whether it's spiritual-based channelings or it's just factual information, sharing pictures and interviews with like military men and things. He's saying it's all part of the same agenda, whether it's through channeling or not. It's to spread awareness.
Okay.
And he said, you can call it disclosure. He said, humans call it disclosure, but it's just awareness.
Okay.
And some humans choose to go the route of the more, what they would deem as the factual based, the technological based, where they want the proof, the physical proof. They want the pictures. They want the whistleblowers. They believe that more than the channeling. He said, and then you have those that lean more towards the channeling side. He's like, and then you have those in the middle. Stardust is somewhere in the middle. It's a nice balance, he said, of the spiritual with the earthly, more of the tangible. There we go. And he says that Stardust is he's complimenting us. Ugh, I feel like I'm making this up, but he is complimenting us. He's saying how we are like that step towards, for a lot of people, we're bringing in a lot of people from different backgrounds. People who were once just all about woo-woo and are finally being brought back into how the physical world, the earthly world, he'll call it earthly, people who focus more on just being human. That's what we call it. He said the earthly world and the spiritual world, it's like they're bringing the earthly world back into their lives. Okay. And for some of them, it's kind of an ugly feeling because it feels like they're bringing themselves down energetically because they're so high up for so long. And he said, and that's not good for any species to be too high up. You need to be at a level state. Too low, too high. My cholesterol. So you made
low blood pressure.
By the way, side note. I'm sorry. But he was listening in me and Carrie's conversation earlier before we started recording. I went to the doctor. I got some blood test work done. And before the insurance goes up, I'm getting all the bells and whistles. And I'm technically overweight by 10 pounds. But I have super low blood pressure. And I have really low cholesterol. So my doctor's a little confused about how I can be overweight but be low when it comes to things that usually people who are overweight deal with, You're
broken in the best way.
I'm broken in a good way.
Yes.
But he's saying how it's not good for health reasons to have too high blood pressure and then too low of anything. He's saying you need to have middle ground. And he's saying, and for people who are just too earthly bound, their eyes aren't open to the other world. They come into Stardust and they find the more spiritual side of it. And it's a nice leeway to these different perspectives in a way that's not abrasive. He said it's very slow for them and they can either choose to like it or they don't. And when people he said, you'll notice that people come and go from your groups. And I had noticed that. He said that's because, he said because they're finished. They've got what they needed and they moved on. They collected that part that they needed. And they're like, okay, so he's saying, say they came in with only a spiritual aspect of life. Everything to them was spiritual. They come into Stardust and they see the more earthly parts of it. It's like they grab that part and make part of them and then they leave the group. They're like, okay, I got what I needed.
That's great. I'm very comfortable with that because we're here to teach. We don't need to keep them forever and ever and ever. Yeah. In fact, part of the things we want to do is get people thinking for themselves. And if they stay in one place forever, then you don't expand.
Exactly. That's why I don't like to, I like to teach, but in a way that I'm just sharing my experiences. I don't like to tell people how it is. Because it's how it is for me, maybe not for you. And I don't like to speak in absolutes.
Yeah, you know what you're talking, I just have to say this thing. It just wants to come out. But I remember I was talking to you earlier about that infinity sign. And we're talking about how we were super spiritual and now we're super earthy. Well, you know what? I have to correct us because we started here and we went all super duper, super spiritual. And then we came over here, we came super duper earthy. But the truth is we didn't come super duper earthy because we've already integrated all this spirituality. So we can't be the same earthy person we were 5 years ago. So now we're a mix of both. It's, we're taking the best of both worlds. And I was told in the reading I had recently that I'm here on my little infinity thing and I'm coming around. And when I get back to that point again, I will have fully integrated both parts. And it's just interesting because this is so on my mind right now. And he's kind of saying the same thing. So I had to spit that out.
He agrees. He says you can't go back to being the person you once before. You can never be the same person. He said every day you're a new person. Every day you're reborn. Every day is a chance to be new, which we see that too. He says, of course. Where do you think you got it?
But yeah, I mean, to say that, we're over spirituality is just not correct.
True. No.
Because,
I'm not. I'm just not
part of us.
I'm just, I would say, more balanced than I was before.
That's what it is. It's a balance. Yep.
And he's saying, and you guys encapsulate that. You guys are that image of what a balance is.
Oh, good.
And people who are on complete opposite ends either deem you as negative. So highly spiritual people who are really into it will see you as more dense. Mm-hmm. And people who are very earthly bound will see you as too crazy. He's saying you'll never be winners on both sides. He said, but that's okay. You're not meant to be. He said you're meant to be teachers, and not always is your teacher your best friend.
Isn't that cool that he kind of knows about us a little bit?
Because he says that we've been watching you, and that sounds creepy. It's not.
So are you just watching Stardust, or you take like a personal interest in our lives, our personal lives too?
He's saying he's here as a spokesperson. This is not just about him. This is about the whole alliance.
I meant you as your whole thing.
As the spokesperson? As the person he's representing? He's kind of like an ambassador.
As the group he's representing. Or do you guys have a vested interest in us outside of our show? Like, do you go grocery shopping with us?
No. Okay. He says that we're only interested in the work that you're doing. Okay. He's saying that majority. I have personal relationships with a lot of people in this alliance, so that's different for me.
That's trippy.
He's talking about how they have a vested interest in all groups who are like this, not just like Stardust, but just are wanting to spread awareness in whatever way that they are doing it. And they watch over it and they notice it. So this isn't just about Stardust. And he says that the good you're doing is you're helping with the expansion of humanity. But you can take any small thing and it could help with the expansion of your species. It doesn't have to be something on a grand scale. It could be something as simple as helping to pick up the trash every day that you see on the sidewalks out in public. Because someone will see that and they'll want to pick up that behavior. And it says that you naturally want to do good. Do you have a question for him?
Do you do anything with these groups other than observe them? Do you download information in any way, or
he says we help. For a lot of them, a lot of their work is dedicated to talking to us and translating our messages.
Okay.
And people all have their own filters. I mean, he doesn't say filters. He said their own understanding.
Okay.
To me, that comes out as filters.
Me too, yeah.
He says they each have their own understanding of what we're saying. And he says, and that's fine. It may not be what exactly we're saying, but that piece they do understand is what they were meant to, because that's what they're meant to teach others.
Well, that's interesting that the messed up filters don't matter because we're getting the core of what we need to learn. Mm-hmm. Is that what he's saying? Okay.
Pretty much. He's saying those people that resonate with that, he said that filter, he said, or that understanding.
Okay.
Was meant to be in that moment to hear it. And that's why he's saying that they understand it for a reason. They resonate with it for a reason.
Is there anything that you can say about, I mean, does it frustrate you, or do you do anything to rectify when something is really misinterpreted and misconstrued? Does it frustrate?
No. He's saying because it's all part of learning. He said it's all part of the journey. He says the way he translated it, I can't translate it right. Well, the way he said it, it's something like that people, even if you were to translate exactly what he said, word for word, and not misunderstood anything he said, people would
still receive it.
Yeah,
in different ways.
In that filter. So he says it doesn't matter how that person interprets. He said it doesn't even have to be medium. It could be somebody who got a factual photo and they post up their own perception of what's happening in this photo. It's something as simple as that, and that happens even in the earthly bound ET-related groups who are just about the factual information. The way they perceive that factual information is still a little different. Mm-hmm. You can still post up the whole report, But it's still, somebody may translate that differently in their mind the way they read it, because everyone's perception, and that falls into the whole thing, like, say someone sees a chair in the room, that's not the same way someone else is going to see the chair. Someone else may see it differently. It's still a chair, but someone may perceive it differently.
We kind of talked about that in like those paint classes where everybody's painting a sunflower, but none of the painted sunflowers look exactly the same because we all see it different.
And he's saying it's no different than channeling or receiving information in any way. Everybody, nobody's mind is the same. So everybody's, the way they take it in is different.
So it seems like you guys are pretty comfortable then with any kind of misinterpretations we have, but is there something that you could share? Because we did get a hold of you. We do have an opportunity to talk to David. Is there anything that you want to share with us that would help us in our stardusting journey?
We wouldn't do anything that you wouldn't be prepared for as a species. So he's saying that a lot of people think we're going to land on Earth one day in grand spaceships. He's like, that won't happen. If that happens, it's not going to be anytime soon, because it's not just about the people who are ready for disclosure. It's about the entirety of your species. So it's not just about you. You're helping by spreading the awareness, but until it's reached everybody, it's not time. There's still a lot of people who are fearful, and it wouldn't make sense to come into a public showing, because it would only scare those people away, and there's much more people that are scared than people that are okay with it. The only reason why it seems like everybody's okay with this is because you surround yourself with people like that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. These are our norms. Yeah. You know, I know that I know you want to address this a little bit later too, so we can use this as a segue later, but I know that he is not spirit, that he is a physical being.
He is.
But I also know that he's advanced, so I wonder if...
He's talking about how he gets sick. He's like, I do get sick.
Oh, there you go. That's funny. It's a body that gets affected by cooties. God, what was I going to ask? Oh, because you are advanced and maybe you just have knowledge that maybe I couldn't get. But I wonder if there's any like concurrent incarnations of Heather on that
Did
thing.
my picture just pop up?
No.
Do you see it?
Not for me.
Oh my God. I hope it didn't pop up in the recording, because, okay, if it did, yeah, for anyone that wonders if it shows up, there was this funny moment where I made this funny face while I was laughing, and I decided to send it to Carrie. So if it pops up on the recording, that's what that random picture is. I'm really...
Okay, so back to my question. I wondered if he knew if you were like on that... I already forgot what it's called. The thing. The group of people. What are we calling it? The Alliance. Does Heather have an incarnation, a concurrent one on it?
She does. I do.
Tell me what it is. Sorry.
She has a couple of them. There is a group of higher, more advanced than us. He's talking about Pleiadians. Way more advanced, and way more advanced than the Arcturians. That's what I am. And I oversee the Alliance itself and their movements, and I'm one of many who help guide them on what they should do next with like different species, and a lot of it. And this is why I probably feel strongly about them not landing on Earth yet. And a huge thing about why they shouldn't be in open disclosures yet. I was one of the people who fed the idea, one of many, who fed the idea of slow disclosure over time.
Okay.
And not just boom, we're here, and boom, this exists. Too much.
Isn't that cool? Then they created a you to help implement it.
Yes.
Well, David, do I have one too? Am I somewhere in there?
No.
God, that's weird. Okay.
I'm getting the sense that he knows, because he's playing, he does know this higher kind of stuff as well, about like more of a spiritual side to us. He says that there was only one of you that needed to be on this alliance.
Because I am supposed to go the more spiritual route, and you were more ET route. And we're so connected. That makes sense in a way. That's cool. Okay.
But yeah. Anyway, the reason why he wanted to say hi to us today is because he's really proud of what we're doing. They all are. And it's not just, and he wants to take the opportunity to say how proud they are of every group who's doing this. Every single person who's participating in this, not just Stardust. It's every group. He says, you have no idea how essential this is. And how important it is to us, because it's our way of making contact with your kind, and we've been dying to do so. and it's our opportunity. He said it may not be with every human, but it's something, and we're making
Yeah.
progress, and we're excited about that. And there's some of us who choose to talk to certain humans because we align with them better. And he said, and I chose as an ambassador, as a spokesperson to come to you guys because I felt more aligned with you, with your energy.
Ah.
He said, and that makes sense because then you could hear me better when you're aligned with the same vibration, the same wavelength, and then it's less chance of the filters going through.
Okay.
You can hear me much better and translate much more honestly. And he says that he likes that I feel energy, and then I translate that. It finds it interesting. He says that they do make contact with humans and they bring them on the ship sometimes. Oh. The Big Alliance ship, which I've been on that one before. And there's so many different ET types. There's over 1,000 different ETs a part of this alliance.
Wow.
There's thousands and thousands of them. And so he says there's a lot of different life forms within this galaxy. And he says, and we're expanding outside the galaxy now, which is very exciting. And he says we have been for a while, but in terms of human time, I guess it's been a long time. It's been 100 years. But for us, it hasn't been that long, you know.
Okay.
But so they have people, different species from other galaxies who have a similar idea, the same, like, different clubs, different alliances and stuff.
Okay.
So it's like it's like going to become one big blob of one big thing.
So everything's going to come together then. Mm-hmm. Wow.
What else?
I
am. He's talking about this thing that somebody had confirmed it recently because someone else kind of got similar information a little bit. I don't want to put her name out there because I don't know if she'd feel comfortable with that. But it was this whole, never mind, I won't get into that. But there's supposed to be this kind of celebration, this event, this ceremony with the Sarsahr and me. And someone else kind of confirmed it because they kind of got the same sense of, I don't know. But I always thought it was made up because I thought it was my ego, but I'll explain in a minute. But there's supposed to be a ceremony because they're all about titles with the Sarsahr, earned titles. But they want to, and David knows what I'm talking about, the ceremony about dubbing me like an ambassador for the Sarsahr. Like, I already have been for a while, but I've never been given the title.
Oh, how beautiful. You have a position.
Yeah. I'm an ambassador, and they also, the Alliance wanted me to induct them within the Alliance as well. And I know there's a lot of humans that do work with them, but the Sarsahr, I think it's for them specially. And I think the Alliance just does this kind of ceremony anyway, when they want someone to be part of Alliance or something. But I felt like that was my ego talking. And then at the same time, I'm like, but I'm already part of the Alliance. You know, there's this other version of me that's alive right now. That's me. That's already part of it. So it's a bit redundant. And I told Sam that, and he got a little upset. Like, you know, what's that word? Not disrespected, insulted. He got a little insulted. And I was like, no, I love it. Like, the human me is, like, in love with this idea. But there's this higher me that's like, why?
Really? I'm already there.
I'm already in there.
I got to go to the meeting twice now.
But that made David laugh. But he's, anyway, they want to do this. I'm really excited about the ambassador thing. And I thought,
I want to go to your ceremony.
I think a lot of people are going to be there.
I'm going to try to get an invite. David, hook me up.
This is okay. But he says that they make contact with humans that are willing and open to it, and they're really excited about it. And he says, and we don't do experimentations on you guys, not unless you want to be part of our studies, because we like to study humans and get to know them better. But that's only if you're okay with that and you agree to do it. And I am part of some of your studies. They do this, for a lot of people that don't know this, the Pleiadians have this simulation kind of room. And they put me through, and they're not like traumatic or anything, you know, but it's a way to teach the humans.
You broke their game.
I did. So it's a way to teach humans how they can manipulate and manifest things, how they can get better at astral projection mostly. And so in the simulation, they'll give you like a base, like say you're in a grocery store. go, you know. They'll put different humans and they'll test like the personalities of the humans, who they are, to see which group of humans will mesh well together to develop a certain outcome. So they only manipulate it to a certain point. They're behind the scenes watching this all unfold and taking notes. So I'll go in there. There's usually one person in each group. It's usually like a group of 5 or 6 that go in this simulation, and one of them in the group knows it's a simulation. And they'll teach the other humans how to manipulate their surroundings. To the humans, they think they're in a dream. And so it took me a minute. I didn't always know I was in a simulation, but when I finally figured it out and was like, this isn't real, then I became one of the manipulators. That's what I call it. The people that taught others how to.
Right.
Sorry, do stuff.
It's always the lady.
You know, it's ironic because I've been eating all day. Anyway, so, but they do this to not only study human nature and how we react to things, because we're so fucking complex. To study a species and you think you've uncovered them entirely, they have this whole other layer you didn't even see. And you gotta study that. He's saying, like, humans are like that. They're like onions. That's what I'm gonna say. He didn't say onions, but I will. Like onions. But yeah, they do it as a simulation, and some people would find that troubling. But it's like, you don't be part of it if you don't want to. They're not gonna, like, come take you and be like, you're gonna end this now. You're gonna do this. No. They're like, would you like to be part of this study we're doing? And this is what it's about.
Well, I know that they benefited from that study. I want to benefit too. Is there anything you can teach us on manifesting?
He's saying that to be part of, he said you be part of the study then. It would help teach you. There needs to be a benefactor. There needs to be a benefit for the person participating. And he says, and what we found with the humans that have participated, they become master manifestors on the planet, which I am. I change things all the fucking time.
You change things all the fucking time, and I'm on a cusp. Sign me up for that program. I'll try it a couple times.
Okay. He says, of course. He's like, I'll jot your name down. He's making a joke.
Thank you, David.
Anyway, but it also teaches about astral projection, how to project themselves out of their bodies. How to... It's more about getting that... the way he's explaining it, showing me an image, it's so cool. Do you know what the Merkaba is?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that little... For people that don't know, it's like this energy around you. Everyone has it, and it's what you astral travel in. It's like teaching you how to access that. It's teaching you how to access the etheric part of you. That's what he's saying, the etheric part of your body. That's what the simulation does. And anyway, but nowadays, I'm not in the simulation anymore. I'm outside it now, and I'm with the other Pleiadians watching the other humans.
You graduated.
He said, this is the first time any human's done that, been on this other side.
Yay! So, congratulations! That's my sissy pants.
They think that it's a new concept they're trying. They think it would help to have a human who knows human biology and the human psychology, which I study psychology, so that makes sense, to give them an idea. The Pleiadians give them answers for the why this is happening, because they could ask on the spot, why is this human doing this? You know, like I had one human one time. We were all supposed to be at a party, but then everybody decided they didn't want to be at this party anymore, and people manifested their own little sections. Like some guy was in a tent in the back, and it was like a forest back there in this corner, and then this other guy, he owned a grocery store, like a 7-Eleven kind of thing, and he manifested that, his workplace. And some other girl was like rock climbing or whatever. And then there was this couple that manifested other people and had an orgy in their hot tub. It was really great. And I was a little upset I couldn't be part of it.
I know, I'm sorry.
But I didn't have anything I wanted to manifest because I just wanted to go home. So I went to this guy's store and I started eating all his snacks. And he didn't even have beer in his store. And I manifested beer. And he's like, but I don't sell beer. I'm like, you do now. And I took my...
And I'm taking it for free since you don't sell it.
So I took some wine coolers. David's laughing. I'm like, I manifested wine coolers and took them. I stole from the store. And I always manifest zombies too. I'm like,
oh yeah, I remember
zombies. Everyone's like, what's happening? I'm like, zombies. I'm so excited.
Gosh, in many ways, Heather is just such a regular girl, but in many more ways, you are an exceptional human being. And I've decided that the reason that your levels are all fucked up is because you're not all the way human. You got low blood pressure and cholesterol because you're something else. I just decided.
He says she is, and he's talking about this. It's not just about me. It's about everybody who may be like people who consider themselves hybrids or people who are called hybrids. You are human. You're in a human body. You're not physically another hybrid. I mean, another species for the most part. But he says because your etheric self, so my etheric body is another species, it kind of changes my physical DNA because everything affects each other. Yeah.
Well, let's get information then. Is her low level something she should be concerned about, or is that just because her etheric body's out of whack? Or just different? He
says we would have to study it. Okay. He said it's most likely her diet, but if it's not, then I would look into it being more about the DNA.
Well, okay. Well, in the meantime, more bacon. Got it.
Yeah, more bacon. There's just an excuse to eat more bacon. He finds us funny. He keeps smiling like we're making him laugh.
Do we know you in a different way? A different circumstance? Are we friends?
A different life? He says, not that I know of. I don't think so, no.
Okay. I just wondered because, the all vibration attracts the vibration, that maybe he was drawn to us from beyond something else. Or just adorbs. It's got to be what it is.
He just said that James says hi. So, for people that don't know, I had a relationship with a Pleiadian named James. And he wanted to say hi to me. He says he's not here, but he wanted to pass his hellos.
I like James.
Hello, James. Tell him to say hi. We planned on interviewing him.
Look at it! You're getting cute. Me too. Oh, that's so funny. I want to talk to James again. I do.
So what else do you want to ask him? I mean, anything you would want to ask someone in Alliance? Because I can't think of anything because I'm already like part of it, have been my whole life in a way, even though I don't really know much.
I don't know much about it either, but what would you say to people that have fears about this big old galactic community that's, watching? Is there any rumors of scary stuff, and is there anything to dispel? Or am I just like saying something I shouldn't because I'm going to attract it? I don't know.
Says you're not going to attract it. Okay. He's saying there's some humans that are just scared in general. Okay. They will take any action we do as something negative, and that deals with them personally, and that doesn't deal with us. He's saying there's nothing I can really say to change their minds. Other than you need to change your perspective, and you need to be more aware of how you're seeing things. A lot of humans are not aware of how they're perceiving life itself. They're not understanding that they're seeing life in a negative way. You can take a positive spin on anything. Some things it's harder than others, but it makes life a lot easier and a lot happier when you do this. And he says, and we found that with Pleiadians, we do that.
When you find that shit.
The silver linings, yes.
Right.
He says when you find the happy endings.
I like those too.
Pleiadians, that's what we do. He said it's not for us. We're always perceived as positive beings because that's what we choose to focus on is the positive. They said, and after a while, when you focus on positive a lot, the positive spin on life, it becomes easier to let things go. So when something negative happens to you to make you sad, that's how you learn to let things go. So much easier and so much faster. He says it takes time. This is something you need to put into practice. It's not something that is going to happen overnight, especially for humans, because you're at this density where it makes it much harder to focus on positives. And he says the reason why it's so much harder is because there's so many other people around you focused on the negative, and it makes it so much easier to see life that way. To follow along with the masses, because you are pack animals. That's how humans are. They like to be in packs, and they like to follow along, whether you know it or not. You may see yourself as an outsider, but for the most part, you do think along the lines as others within your community, and you surround yourselves with those who think alike, like you. So surround yourself with somebody who likes to think positive about things.
Okay.
It'll become much easier for you. And then in the long run, give it some time. He's like maybe a couple of years. Then it'll become easier to let things go. So when you feel like you're hanging on to something negative, you're still angry about whatever happened, it's easy to let it go.
It sounds basically like he just summed up the healing journey in a nutshell.
Yeah.
I mean, and you can call it many things, but letting the other things go, all of those onion layers on peeling, you're letting all of it go, coming to a place of healing. Do you guys have to do that, or are you already there? Do you get born into a world and have the shit dumped on you, just on peel, or you just get to be happy forever? Because I'm going to be Pleiadian next.
He said we used to be that way. We used to be a lot like humans. But
Okay.
because our collective as a whole chooses to focus more on positive, it's just so much easier for us to just be like that. Whereas when you're born as a human, you're surrounded by so much different diversity of positivity and negativity. It's almost confusing. And it's so much easier to focus on negative because there's so much more of that in your world. And because there's so much more of that in your world, it's due to the fact that people focus on that more.
Yeah, just like I was saying, we're focusing on it, we're drawing it to us. I know my one question wasn't going to change anything, but that's kind of what I was going with. Even if I didn't make it happen for real, what I meant by bringing a negative place through focus just meant a perception, like putting thoughts out to those people that are watching that, ooh, it could be bad. Let me investigate that and bring that thought to their personal awareness. Now, if you stay in that positive place, you don't ever have to even feel the negative.
Yeah.
However, I understand that, we are at a place of learning, and sometimes contrast is helpful to us to find the way
that's how humans learn. They need contrast, and we understand that. So he's saying that there was something he was said earlier about how even in science, it's proven that positivity affects things differently than negativity.
Right. Plants, water, all that stuff. It changes.
So this is something that doesn't just apply to the spiritual community. It applies to the more earthly bound community as well. I like how he calls it earthly bound. We call it more being a human or whatever. He's saying because you're human regardless of what you focus on.
It's true. We're always going to be humans when we're humans. Let me ask, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to segue to our next topic, but I'm going to get his input. I wonder, David, if you have in your own words to help some people that still aren't understanding the difference between physical and non-physical beings. Some people still think that the ETs like you or any of the others that we speak to are spirit. We don't know how to help them understand that they're bodies, they're people like us.
He's saying that maybe they need to see us that way in order to not only understand us or be able to perceive us, but also to be able to see us as positive beings, because maybe they think of anything that's physical bound, they have the opportunity to be evil, and that scares them, and they want something that's non-physical because and he says, and that deals with more of how they perceive themselves, how they perceive humanity, but also themselves. So how you see your fellow human is how you really perceive yourself. And he says that you may seem some of us as scary and evil, but that's how you perceive yourself. You're just reflecting yourself onto us or something like that. And he's saying that he said sometimes some people worship us. They think we're the best, and that's because they see themselves as the absolute worst. So there's two sides to it.
Okay.
And then there's some people who are just perfectly balanced and whatnot. But I said that's the top two ways people perceive our alliance or perceive us as a species. And he's saying, and I'm not just talking about Pleiadians, I'm talking about all of us.
Right.
Anyone who perceives us as negative or super, the greatest thing ever, it's really because how they perceive themselves. And some people like the contrast of seeing something super positive because they want something to strive for. They want to become something. They want to see the good because they can't see it within themselves.
Okay. It's like an inspiring thing for them in a way. Give them hope. Okay. Well, do you want to talk about that a little, H, or about...
Yeah. But are you a physical being? Yes. He says, I am. To you, I am not, because my vibration is so much higher that it makes it hard for you. It says that most of our contact is with you in a non-physical state because it's easier on your psyche and easier on you.
Okay.
We can meet you physically, and I have, at least. And so I know Pleiadians are physical. I could touch them how I would touch you. Some of them say that because to them, the astral realm, physical realm, are one and the same. They're not different. The same thing. And I remember, I think it was James, or it was one of the Pleiadians, were trying to teach me real quick about how astral form is the same thing. What they do in astral affects your physical. What happens in physical affects your astral.
What they do?
So think of it like a healing. When you want to, say you have cancer or something, or diabetes, you want to go to a healer or something. Or say that you have emotional stress or something, and now you're starting to get sick a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
That's an emotional aspect of yourself that's affecting the physical.
Okay,
or
I get it.
So you would want to go to a doctor on top of going to an energy healer who's going to heal that emotional part of you, but you still need to go to the fucking doctor to treat that physical illness that manifested itself. So you get how it affects each other. It's not different. It's one and the same.
Yes.
So and he says that's a good example. He says that makes it simple. He said, but it's so much more complex than humans can understand and comprehend. He's like, and I'm trying to communicate it with me, but I'm just not getting it. So I was like, I guess I'm not ready to. I guess that's too much for me. My bad.
Come on, get with it. We need to know.
But he's saying, no, we're not physically in a whole other realm. We're in the same realm as you. But spiritually, we're somewhere else. How we perceive time, how we perceive ourselves, how we perceive our environment is what makes us in another dimension. But we're still physically within the same realm as you.
So how do you live your life? Do you live your life in a state of meditation, or are you out gardening?
He says, we can garden. But he's talking about how we're not always meditative because we don't need to meditate. Humans do. They need that moment to come back within themselves, but we're always within ourselves at all times. We don't need time to meditate.
What is your body doing right now then? Meditating. Just kidding.
What are you doing right now, your physical self? Is it resting somewhere or is it doing something? Like it's a whole different thing.
Okay.
He's making it sound like he's just, he says that for him, he focuses on doing a mundane activity, something that doesn't require a lot of thought. Okay. You know, like for us, it would be like doing the dishes or something.
Got it.
And for a lot of us, that's a deep meditative state, is when we're doing the chores.
Mine was mowing the lawn, man. I'd get some good downloads on lawn mowing day.
He's saying, for me, I'm just in a relaxed state. That doesn't mean I'm sleeping or meditating. I'm just doing something that doesn't require a lot of thought process because all my energy is focused on this conversation and what I'm hearing.
Got it. Okay.
And he says, and I'm projecting myself to you in a way that feels comfortable to you. So Pleiadians do look human for the most part. There's so many different Pleiadians that look so different because there's so many hybrids of Pleiadians.
Let's find out about Dave a little bit. Is he cute? Are you married? Leave it to me.
No, he says, I do not have a partner. He says Pleiadians they're very polygamous. Most of them are.
That's right.
And he says that right now I do not have a mate. I did belong to one mate who had a few others. He says he likes both genders.
Oh.
That's what it feels like. He doesn't have a preference. He says it's whatever soul I'm guided to. I feel attracted to. I asked him, you feel attracted to me? No. I mean, I could try, right? Might as well.
I'm laughing because I got
I fucked one
going on over here.
I fucked one. That's good enough, right?
It's never enough.
It's never enough, no. But, okay. So he talks about what he does. He is a spokesperson. He goes to a lot of different mediums, and they all call him something different.
Interesting.
And he says that, but he said, I've never been called a human name. It's always been something exotic with them.
That's why it's so fucking funny. David.
He says it's a very human name, even though I'm not human at all. But most of his job is just communicating to us so it's his job to be in the know of what the Alliance is doing, every aspect of it, so that he can tell us everything that we would want to know. And he says humans typically ask the same questions, so he's usually he already
has all the answers. I feel like he's like in charge of the social media page. He's like
he's the social media guy. Yeah, he's the Facebook guy. He's the guy who runs the Alliance Twitter. That's him. And then he reports back to what the feedback's like, what they're wondering. And so that helps them gauge where we are in our advancement and our understanding of them.
Okay, so he'll read our comments. And
yeah.
He'll be on board. That's so funny.
So that's his job, and that's a very interesting job. He says he enjoys it. And he doesn't just do this with humans. He does this with all different species of all different evolutionary paths.
Is there something that happens at other places? Like a version of social media or somebody else's?
He says there's like a database of information, but it's not like a social place.
Okay.
People don't comment on it. It's just...
okay.
And I know what he's talking about. I have a file. And you can look it up on this screen. And... So at one point, my information said that I was a little hostile. Whatever.
Well, you were.
Okay, look. I destroyed a ship on accident. Okay? How was I supposed to know I wasn't on the gray ship? You know? Like, no one tells you these things.
There's no rule books. You just go.
He finds a... That was me. Yeah. He didn't know that I was the one who...
What did you do? What did you do?
All right. So what had happened was, look, I woke up. It was like I woke up, and I was sitting on this... Fuck me. I was sitting on this metal tray, and I'm used to that with the grays. And all I see is, and it happened to be one that looked like a gray, a short gray, had this little girl's arm. She looked to be about like 6-7 years old. And he was injecting something in her arm. I didn't know that what he was doing was they were giving us a checkup or something. What were you guys doing? He says injecting a serum. I'll ask that later. That's a whole other thing, and I'm trying to translate it, but I need to focus on this story. He said it's not bad. It's something you volunteer for. So I didn't remember, and I tackled him to the ground, this gray, because I felt protective of the girl. I thought I was on a gray ship, you know, and I tackled him to the ground, and he was making this weird squirmy sound, like, Arr! And I was like, oh, God. So then I picked up the girl, and we're running, and I find this, like, mechanical room. There's a bunch of these rows of these rectangular giant, like, shelves, and they looked like, you know, have you ever seen those movies where they go to, like, where the motherboard is of, like, all the internet connections or whatever, right. And it's all those, that's what it looked like. And we hid behind one of the shelves, and a few guards ran by and I knew they were looking for us. And so I was like, this little girl had a little southern twang, so I knew she was from somewhere else in the U.S., and I knew her because we would spend a lot of time together. And she said, oh, it's so sad that, you know, we're not going to remember each other. And I'm like, I know, but it's chill. I'm like, fuck it. I'm here. I'm in this I'm going to fuck up their shit. They're doing shit to me. I'm going to fuck up their shit. So I started pulling plugs and flipping switches. I don't know what I was doing. And the little girl copied me. She started doing it on her end. And then a few of them, a guard came in, and I was like, oh, fuck. And then I didn't know what had happened after that. It wasn't until years later I went to a trial. I didn't know it was a trial, okay?
Oh, my gosh, you got in trouble.
I got in trouble. So they took me to this thing, and I thought I was naked in the dream because I had been dreaming, but they woke me up to take me, so I still thought I was dreaming, and a tsunami had come in my dream, and so I thought I was naked. And I had a towel wrapped around me, and they thought I was being funny. And but actually I was wearing my pajamas. I remember I wore my rush shirt. I was wearing my rush shirt because that's what I wore to bed. And I had me sit in this room, and it was a U-shaped table. And one of the Pleiadians stood up and said, you know, you destroyed one of our ships, and we want to know what happened. It didn't feel like I was in trouble. It was like I broke the vase, and the parent wanted to know what I did, how it happened. And they would still love me regardless, you know. And I just said I thought I was on a gray ship, and I decided to protect this girl. And so they understood. They said, okay. And then and I apologized because I guess I destroyed a Pleiadian ship because they wanted to know how I did it because it's never happened before. And I told them, y'all shouldn't put everything in one room. You know, because if it could be destroyed by me, it could be destroyed by anybody.
Yeah, I'm just a cheeseburger eating girl. Come on, you got to get that security up a little.
I know. And God, yeah. I fucked up. It was fine though. They weren't upset about it, but I guess I just made the ship break down. I didn't like it didn't blow up. It just broke down. It stopped functioning.
I hope they had insurance against people like you.
This is don't worry, we do. It's called no insurance. We just fix everything for free.
Okay.
But he's saying that no deductible. I don't even know. You probably know more about insurance than I do. I don't even know what a deductible is. But anyway,
it's your copay.
Oh, that's what that is?
Close enough.
Anyway, he's saying how what really happened was it made all the lights shut down, the function of the ship. They couldn't pilot it anymore. It couldn't move, so it was floating in space. No function. So they hooked up. They got another ship to come up, which it only took
truck.
And they hooked it up to give it back its power.
AAA.
Yeah.
Oops. I can't even believe I'm being told this story, and I believe it wholeheartedly, and I can't believe I haven't heard it before. You are a crazy girl. You are a crazy girl.
I
love that about you.
I was misunderstanding the situation.
Yeah, but the situation you were in is what makes you a crazy girl. Embrace it. You know, I mean this in like the best way.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And I felt bad. I felt bad after that. I was like, I want to go apologize to that gray-looking guy, you know.
You should. And you should go out and pick up some trash to make up for your destruction.
Yeah, I guess.
20 pieces of trash.
What were they putting in her arm? Did you put it in my arm? Yes. Okay. So what were you injecting? It says serum to make us forget? No? It deals with our memory, our focus. Like, does it heal us in any way? No. Does it affect our health? It says no, should not.
Does it drop your blood pressure?
Does it drop my blood pressure? It's saying it deals with, it calms the brain somehow. Okay. I don't know. It says we don't use technology for the brain part. We use, I think he said it is technology, but it's like a serum goes straight to the head. And it makes how your brain processes things much easier. So when you're on our ships with us, it's not too much. It's like a...
Okay.
It calms down the fight or flight response. It calms down the part that gets scared when around us because you're around a confusing and new environment.
Oh, that's interesting to hear that because, you know, it's got to be traumatic for the human brains to see that.
He says it is. And so we developed that to help. Yeah, especially if it's on the way home. It's mostly due to that. Because for some reason it's traveling there. That's too much. Yeah. Because he says you're mostly by yourself when you go back. And it's a little scary.
Okay. I'm proud of you for being such a pioneer, Heather. You do some crazy shit.
I destroy ships and I eat a lot. He says, yes, you do. Yeah. You always need snacks with me. You need snacks handy for me. I'm hungry. Mm-hmm. Anyway, is there anything else you want to add for us? He says, no. Are there any other further questions?
I'm going to get in trouble for not asking all the questions that everybody had for them, but we just decided to do this, so you can't get me in trouble.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Yeah, that's it. That's all he really has to say. Before we go, there's something I wanted to say about the Sarsahr and playing into the whole physical thing. Some people just keep asking me, like, they're like, how do the Sarsahr manifest themselves physically? Does it take a lot of their energy? They're not manifesting themselves physically. They are physical beings. And they're not like the Pleiadians where you experience them in like an astral form kind of thing. They are physical beings. They don't have to manifest themselves anywhere. You don't have to astral project yourself anywhere. It's all physical. Like, if they were to, they have a base on Earth, they have a couple of them. But let's just say the one in Nevada. Say they were to walk off onto the highway. They're not manifesting themselves. All they did was just get up out of bed and walk themselves down to the highway. You were to drive by them, you would see them. How you would see any other person walking on the highway. Like, I don't know how else to explain
Well,
it.
I made a funny. I thought it was funny. I made a funny mistake, and I'm like, there are two Sarsahr, and they live together, and then they get it on, and one gets pregnant, and they are born out of a vagina, and then we started laughing because they are not born out of a vagina because they have this whole different way of giving birth. But the fact remains that there are two physical beings that join and birth another one that's just like us. They're people, but a different species of people.
Right. So they, for a second, just take away the fact that spiritually they're in a different dimension. And what I mean by that is that they're at a higher vibration than us.
They're still in our physical place. We can still touch them, but they have achieved an awareness of expansion.
Yeah, their awareness is
different.
different.
They vibrate higher. They're not in a different place.
Right.
I mean, yeah.
And also a couple of things. What else? There was something else I wanted to bring up that people had questions about, or that just concerned me that they just assumed this about them because I don't know where they're hearing it.
You did say two things. The physicality, and then
how their society is structured. Some people assume that
like voting and stuff, something like that. Was that it?
People were asking me how would they vote to, allow us to do this. Because some people want like a change to the trade to the that they have with not just the United States but different countries. And I had to tell them they don't vote. They're not a democracy. It's the leaders who decide what goes on. So Sam's one of the leaders. There's different ones, and they oversee different parts of the base or certain parts of different bases. And they all come together sometimes to decide on an outcome for a change or something, whether it be a trade or whatnot. The people don't decide. The people don't and the people don't vote in those leaders either. It's earned. They don't believe that every person, to an extent, but this is the best way I can explain it. They believe a voice is earned. And whereas we believe everyone is given, naturally has a right to a voice. They believe everyone does have a right to a voice, but not always that voice is going to change how their society functions. To that extent, no, not everyone has a voice. That voice is earned. You have to show throughout time how dedicated you are to your community, to the benefit of it.
And we don't have that at all. And part of the reason, I think, is just because it's so big and humanity is so big, but it's separate and all that stuff. But it was really hard for us as humans to wrap our brains around, because that one interview we had with that other Arya or something, when I kept trying to understand why she trusted her government. Yeah. They just do. Because they can. Yeah. Because there's no reason to not mistrust them. So to say that, it's not like they're being tyrants and making the decisions for everyone else. They truly are making decisions based on the benefit of the whole. There's no sneaky, it's what it is.
It's you
don't need to vote because you trust them to do the right thing, and they do.
Yeah. And so Sam, he's one of the leaders, so he gets to decide. So at some point, and this is what I didn't understand, is where the elders, the shamans, the Sarsahr shamans come into the picture. It's only when the elders can't make a decision, and they're like, I don't know how to proceed. They get guidance from the shamans.
Okay.
And the shamans help to guide them. They're like, this is what's best. What did you look at? You glared at something.
I did. My dog just walked by, and she's covered in mud. She's in trouble.
Anyway, so that's how their society functions. A voice is earned. And if, say, they live on a base and a decision's made and someone on that base doesn't agree with it to the point that it makes them angry, they just don't resonate with it, they can always move to a different base that has a different... That's what they do. Okay. And it's not seen as bad. It's not like this person's kicked off the island or something. It's better for not only that person, but for that collective there, because they don't want someone who's not going to align with the collective.
You know what that reminds me of? What? We can apply that into our human stuff, the way that people get victim-y, and you just sit there and whine that everybody's being mean to you or whatever. Well, the Sarsahr, if they're not feeling the vibe that everybody else is, they just go somewhere else where they fit in better. Yeah. They don't stay that victim. They don't get mad. It's just like, it's not the place for me. I'm moving on.
Right. Yeah, and they don't feel victim-y about it at all. It's for the benefit of everybody. And so that's how their society functions. And it flows well for them. But for humans, it may be different. They're a whole different species. So what works for them may not work for us. So we shouldn't judge.
Can't judge that kind of way you do things. It's going back to those grays that just want to collect data. So we can't judge them for being mean. They're just different than we are.
Yeah.
We have to, have allowances for these differences because we're so egocentric in our beliefs of the way things should be.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He says, and David's commenting, he's still here. He's like, every species is a little egocentric and how we think is good. He's like, even Pleiadians, we perceive what we're doing as good and a benefit for all. And someone may not,
Okay.
He says, so you're absolutely right. He said even Pleiadians are egocentric too.
Okay. All right.
The humans are even more so because we'll judge each other.
Mm-hmm.
What was another concern I had with them? There's someone else, like, these are, like, questions that people bring up, and I just find it so confusing. And I'm like, well, maybe I didn't explain it right, So maybe I fell short somewhere.
Well, some people, too, they're all in different places of understanding, and I still need to have things told to me again and again for it to sink in a way that I can get it. So these repeats that you're doing, even though you've explained it before, there's going to be that, that one time that this explanation makes sense to somebody. So, keep on repeating. It's valid.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think that's it. If I remember it, I'll...
Next video.
Yeah. Before we go, we still have that Stardust event coming up.
I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. I'm not nervous like I was with our first event that we did. I was such a nervous wreck about it. But now I'm like, it's just going to be around like-minded friends. And we're just going to be looking for aliens. And it's going to be in a safe place. That's really why I wanted to do these events because... I tried to camp by myself alone in the desert looking for aliens, and a naked man came and tried to rape me. So I'm like, there has to be a way I can do this safely. So that's why we started Stardust events. So women, mostly women, can go looking for aliens out in the desert and be safe and not be raped by naked men. It's just... That's
the slogan. So women can go out in the desert and not get raped. So we can go find some aliens.
Yeah. So honestly... And, we're laughing about it, and I know there's some people who actually are, had been raped, but at the time I was very traumatized by the whole experience, but now I use humor to help cope. So that's why I'm laughing about it. I've learned to laugh about it because I have to, or else I would just have severe PTSD. That was a very scary situation.
I remember. That was weird. That whole thing was weird.
For people that don't know, real quick, story time. A lot of story time today. You guys can skip the video now. I'm just gonna talk about a naked man.
Click off. We'll see you later.
Whatever. Real quick, I wanted to go camping out in the desert, right across from where the Sarsahr live, and no one wanted to go with me, and my boyfriend didn't want to come. So I was like, fine, I'll just go by myself. Strong, independent woman. I was so excited. I brought all my camping stuff, and I found a spot off the side of the highway to camp at, and I was gonna sleep in the back of my truck. But then this man comes rolling up, and he parks right outside by my truck, and he gets out, and he looks like he was about to go running. So I thought, okay, there's some trails around here, or, whatever. And then he was like, do you mind if I get undressed? And I thought maybe he was going to change into some running clothes, something else or something. And, he just wanted to make sure it was going to be okay and to not weird me out. I'm like, yeah, sure, do your thing. He's like, do you mind if I'm naked? I'm like, I mean, who am I to judge?
Could be naked somewhere over there.
I thought, because I was near this goddess temple in Indian Springs, so I thought maybe he was going to do some weird naked yoga, because I've heard people doing that out there. So I didn't want to judge him for his thing, And I was like, yeah, no, man, I'm totally chill. And so then he comes around. I didn't know that he was making his way over to me because I was busy unpacking. And he's fully naked. I stand back. I'm like, oh my God. He's literally 2-3 feet away from me, fully undressed. All he had on was a hat and sunglasses and his shoes. Ugh. All naked. And he's 60, 70 years old, but he's still pretty buff. So creepy old man. Not even cute. It'd be
creepy old naked man.
Yeah. And then he was wondering what I was doing. He was like, why are you out here in the desert? I'm like, I'm camping. He's like, oh, are you by yourself? How long are you going to be alone by yourself out here? That's when it started to get creepy. I was like, oh, shit. And so then I was like, but I still didn't want to make him feel uncomfortable. That's what I was thinking.
What the fuck is up with that? Yeah, I've been there before, too.
And then he was like, do you want a Snapple? This is why I can never drink Snapple anymore. It was very specific. Every time I see Snapple, I think of him. He's like, you want a Snapple? You want a water? You want a Snapple? You want a Snapple? I was like, don't. And in my head, I was like,
Snapple at me.
In my head, I was like, he's going to drug it. So,
right. Ooh.
So I'm like, no, thank you. And he kept pestering for me to get a drink. He really wanted me to get a drink. And I knew it was because he probably wanted to drug me. And I was like, no. And he was like, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah. And so then he was like, he looked through my truck. He put his head into my truck right behind me. He was like inches from me. I could feel his body heat on me, his naked fucking body heat. And he was like, wow, you really are going camping. And I had a machete right there on the floor in front of me. And I was like about to grab it. But I was thinking, I'm not a violent person. I can't hurt him.
I don't want to put a knife in him.
I'm hurt. And then I was still thinking, you know, what if he's just a weird guy? You know, he doesn't understand how weird he's being. Maybe that's how innocent he is. Mm-hmm. So I didn't want to hurt a man who obviously was making me feel uncomfortable. And I just didn't want to make him feel bad. Oh, God, I was so stupid. And then I could feel, outside the corner of my eye, something white shimmer by. I didn't know at the time it was the Sarsahr because it was like their white jumpsuits or whatever. And so I had turned my head, and how their technology works is you have to have your temple faced. That's how they communicate their wavelengths through to your head. So I had turned my head and immediately got this image of him like taking me, a naked man taking me from behind and raping me. And I immediately like turned to face the man, and I kept getting in my head, don't turn your back to him. Don't turn your back to him. And I was like, so I gotta go. And so I lied saying that I was meeting up with some friends, and I was just moving things around in my truck because everything was moving around too much while I was driving and blah, blah, blah. And so I got out of the truck and I left. I was shaking. I was so scared. And Sam was pissed. He wanted to kill this man. And, yeah, so anyway, but then I found out that that stretch of highway got blocked off right before the goddess temple. And Sam said he had done something. And I'm like, what did you do? I told him, don't hurt this man. You know, but anyway, Sam told me that they had, you know, beat up this guy and threatened to kill him if he ever came back to the stretch of desert again. And they left him in a fetal position behind a huge sagebrush. And I guess, and it's ironic that that stretch of highway was closed off just in that section where I was, minutes, like about an hour after I left. It's not a coincidence. I think the police went out there because they probably...
Well, can I tell the rest of the story from the expanded place?
Sure.
All right. Well, what Heather was out there doing was learning a sense of independence.
Yes,
and
I was.
Right. And she didn't, and, you know, we don't know this stuff. It's like afterwards we go back and, you know, talk to spirit and find out. And you know, I did it too. I like ventured off like far away out of the country and stuff. Heather went to the desert, but she got just enough to know that she could do it. And the reason they sent that creepy guy out there, and I mean spirit, was to kind of give her a nudge to come and find me, because Heather would not want to wake up in the middle of the night alone by herself in the desert. And they knew that, and that she wouldn't come knocking on my door at 3 a.m. So she'd be kind of fucked. So they sent this guy to come and, you know, scare her so that she would decide, okay, I was willing to do it. I made that step. I was completely committed, but I'm no fool. I'm getting out of here.
Yeah.
And then I don't even know if I should confess this part on his behalf, but I'm going to. But when Eric was telling us the story, he thought it was hilarious that this guy got his ass kicked by the aliens.
I know. Eric confirmed it. He confirmed what happened. A couple other mediums confirmed, this is the Sarsahr came. They kicked his ass. And I can't imagine real skinny fucking aliens, you know, 2-inch wrists, beating some guy up, you know. It was crazy. They didn't even use their stun gun. They showed themselves in front of them. I'm like, so do I have to be naked out in the desert for you to, like, not use the device on me or something? That's what I'm thinking.
I'll be naked in the desert in a couple weeks, baby. Come and get me.
Anyway, David's still here, and he's just like, it's a very peculiar story.
Very peculiar girls.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm glad he stuck around. We have to, you know, keep caught up with the social media of the Stardust girls.
Yeah. So that's why we have Stardust events. In a nutshell, there we go. That's the story behind Stardust events, why we do them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No more naked guys.
No more naked men.
All right, let's wrap this up.
Okay, it's been a long time. That's what she said. All right. I love you, and I will see you soon.
I know. I can't wait. Okay, baby, I love you. Bye.
Bye.